The DCEU is up for a reawakening as James Gunn keeps making major changes to its legacy cast and franchises. But will it be for the good, or is Gunn another villain in the multiverse of DC who will further muck things up for fans? Let's take a look at what he may be planning and talk about if any of his plans can finally turn DC around or not. First up, new films and stories, without which James Gunn's plans for DCEU won't come to fruition, will they? Because the guy definitely has some big ideas, he's already announcing new stories and plans that have excited us. Wait, don't get too excited yet. That doesn't mean he's keeping Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel. That ship has sailed for Gunn. But just because the old actors aren't staying doesn't mean nothing exciting is coming up in the DCEU. In fact, it's the total opposite. He's already teased a few projects and even mentioned how he and Peter Safran have the DC slate ready to go. So, which movies are making the cut? We have a few assumptions, so let's dive into the video to find out. On number 1, Batman. Can there even be a DC universe without the world's greatest detective? You don't need to answer. We already know it's a no. Sure, Robert Pattinson's got his own game going with the Caped Crusader, but James Gunn has already mentioned how he's got another Bat detective in his plans. So if you're one of those people who think he'll cave in and merge DCEU with Rob Pat's Batman, you're wrong. The guy didn't take a single minute to let Cavill go. Why'd he change his stance on this one? And anyway, in this case, we think the more Batmans in the world, the merrier. At least this way, we'll be able to get a solo DC movie on him that we were robbed of with Ben Affleck. See what we did there? No? Okay, let's move on. When it comes to Batman, he could very well be the Iron Man of the DCEU, which makes sense considering his role in creating the Justice League. So we're definitely expecting his movie to be the first look of the new DC franchise. That could even give other Bat factions to make an appearance, because let's face it, another Batman solo film may seem too repetitive, but then again, maybe it'll follow the ditched Ben Affleck movie theme. We'll have to wait to find out. Then we have Wonder Woman. In Gunn's 8 to 10 year plan, she's definitely making the cut, but that doesn't mean Gal Gadot is. Well, the higher-ups, especially James, did shoot down the rumor that the actor was fired from her role. The fact remains that we don't see a very bright future for her in the cinematic universe. There's also this rumored shakeup at the studio, because of which Gadot might have left DC on her own terms. That's because Wonder Woman 2, which was the most recent release in the franchise, apparently didn't fit with the narrative DC wants to follow in the next decade. Oh well, guess there's another superhero out of the picture. But if we're wrong and she decides to stay, or if DC decides to keep her, we'd be ready to welcome another Wonder Woman in our midst. Next, a Black Canary movie. Her film has been part of this list for a long time now, especially since 2020 when Birds of Prey was released. But thanks to the fateful Suicide Squad movies, the idea of a Black Canary film was shelved. And we get why. The Suicide Squad movies were as bad as Joss Whedon's Justice League. The whole bad film spell in DC lasted far too long if you ask us. So it makes sense that the film was shelved instead of taking off as the rumors suggested. Oh, and there was also a Batgirl movie connection with Black Canary, and we all know what happened to that one. But after endless rumors and no major updates, one finally emerged in 2021, where it was announced that Journey Smollett would be reprising her role as Dinah Lance, Black Canary, in her own film. Whether it's true or if it will happen are speculations that we're not getting into right now. Let's just hope that if we do get one, it includes a bit of her backstory and maybe some cameos with other Justice League heroes. Also, Green Lantern. Let's face it, we need one. Of course, this time a more legible and normal one than Ryan Reynolds' bad rendition that came out all those years ago. Do you guys think he's going to joke about it in Deadpool 3? Hey, he might. Anyway, back to the topic. As part of James Gunn's Phase 1 of the DCEU, Green Lantern can be crucial. In fact, the guy has already teased that he's going to be playing a major role in the universe. Now the question is, though, if he'll appear in a movie or in a show. You know, HBO Max's Jon Stewart one. Either way, the dude's definitely making an appearance and can even introduce Guardians of the Universe in the cinematic world. And we hope it does, because we all know how much innovation DC needs to be palatable. Let's not forget Suicide Squad, because if James Gunn is really doing DC right, he may as well wipe the entire Suicide Squad memory from our brains and bring back a new and improved one as part of his decade plan. And how can Phase 1 be complete without Arkham's most notorious group of criminals being used by Amanda Waller? And while other characters in this particular franchise have failed to make an impression, we do hope Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn stays, because if we ever watched those movies, it was because of her. There are also speculations that we could get a solo Harley movie instead of another Suicide Squad Squad, especially considering how Phase 1's culmination will already be a major assembly moment, so bringing a group between that probably won't make sense. Whatever happens though, we hope this time they can pull themselves together and give us a good Suicide Squad. Otherwise, we'll just stick to the animated versions, thank you. On number 6, Aquaman. If there's any series that worked for DCEU in its shaky phase, it's Aquaman. But even though Jason Momoa played a pretty convincing King of the Sea, he's transitioning to another role, leaving his original one behind. That's right, if you haven't heard it yet, let us be the ones to tell you that Jason's probably DC's future Lobo. The anti-hero persona fits him a lot better than any protagonist, although we have to say that his work in Aquaman was no small feat. That guy moved waters to make it happen. Don't tell us you didn't get the pun here. A lot of fans have suggested this role could be better for him, saying it's a callback of sorts for Khal Drogo. Well, we have to wait and see to that. Wait up, what about Superman? Okay, this one's a tough question, because look, there can't be a DCEU without Superman either. He's as important to the franchise as Batman. But with Henry Cavill gone, that too after building up the entire fandom's hopes thanks to his appearance in Black Adam, the topic is a little sensitive. Even then, we have to move on, and what better way than to have Superman reprise his place on the big screen, even if it's with a different face. According to James, he's thinking of a very different role for the Kryptonian this time, saying how he wants his version of Supes to be a younger version of the hero instead of the older, experienced one we saw in Henry. So is this why he was dumped from the role, despite having announced his return just a few days ago? Well, yes, that and other reasons that we're sure you've heard of. So we won't put salt in your wounds by repeating them. Just know that if the next Man of Steel doesn't live up to the previous one, his Justice League's mustache mishap aside, we are protesting, and it's Gunn who will be answering. But let's not get that serious for now, because we've got his whole DC slate to look forward to. Question is, what's Gunn's plan? Because guys, even if it does seem like a callous move, uprooting a pretty solid universe to bring in a new regime isn't easy. Sure, the solid universe here is Snyderverse, which did start off on shaky ground, but it had its fans, who are now pretty angry about Gunn ruining their magical Superman moment and taking away other familiar faces in the process. But he does seem excited about the new slate he keeps tweeting about, so you never know. So far, all we have is that Superman is a big part of the new phase. Batman's going to get a revamp and will probably be a lot different from Robert Pattinson's version to give him competition. Green Lantern is going to be a big deal in this universe, and that he's ready to leave Snyderverse behind once and for all. So while we wait for him and Peter to announce their new line of films, one thing is clear, the guy is not here to play games. He's legit trying to change the face of DC. Finally, the golden question, can James Gunn turn DC around? He definitely thinks so. He's also pretty excited about his version of events in the DCEU, which makes us think, are we judging him too harshly? And does he have a reason behind his actions? You have to admit, with the Marvel experience he has, James is no newcomer to the world of superheroes. He knows what it takes to get them to culmination, and that's what he's doing here, even if we can't see it. Let's just hope he doesn't turn out to become a Joss Whedon-ish character who changes the tone of the films entirely. We all know what that got us, a petition and an overly long Justice League film years later. But DC has no time to lose now because they've been to the chopping block too many times. So instead of questioning James and Peter, we'll just send out hope that we wish they do turn DC around, because the whole franchise really needs that. That's a wrap for this video. What's your take on James Gunn's plans about the DCEU? Can he make it better, especially after Cavill? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.